So, you're a developer, you're excited about AWS's new AI assistant, Amazon Q, and you're probably asking yourself one huge question before you even start coding. Where can I actually use this thing? Well, today, that's exactly what we're breaking down, the global availability of Amazon Q Developer region by region.
You've got your project idea, your code is ready to go, but before you can even think about integrating Amazon Q, there's this one critical hurdle: geography. Is the service even turned on in your chosen AWS region? Let's find out.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the simplest scenario, what I'm calling the easy access regions. If you're operating in one of these, Amazon Q Developer is enabled by default. You can think of it as basically plug and play.
Yeah, enabled by default regions are, well, they're exactly what they sound like. It's kind of like the standard features in a new car. They're already installed and ready to go. AWS has already flipped a switch for you, so there are zero extra steps needed on your part.
And the global coverage for these default regions is pretty extensive. We're talking major AWS hubs across 4 different continents, so there's a really good chance your preferred region is already on this list. Let's take a look. Right, so in the Americas, the coverage is just fantastic. You've got the key U.S. hubs on both coasts, like North Virginia and Oregon, plus Canada Central, and all the way down to Sao Paulo in South America. If you're working in these locations, access is totally straightforward. And it's pretty much the same story over in Europe and the Asia Pacific. You've got all the key European centers you'd expect, like Frankfurt, London, and Paris. And in Asia Pacific, the footprint is just massive. We're talking from Tokyo and Seoul all the way to Sydney and Mumbai. All of these are good to go right now. But what if your region wasn't on that list? Don't worry, you're not necessarily out of luck. There's another way. And that brings us to our second category, the extra step regions, which, as the name implies, require you to opt in. So unlike those default regions, you should think of these more like optional add-ons. The service is totally available, but AWS needs you to go in and manually enable it in your account settings before you can get access to Amazon Q Developer there. The process itself is super simple. You just go into your AWS account settings, you find the region you want, and you manually turn it on. It's a conscious choice you have to make. But, and this is a really, really important catch, and here it is. This is probably the single most important thing to remember about this whole category, so listen up. The opt-in regions are only supported for the Amazon Q Developer free tier. That's right, if you're on a paid tier, you cannot use Q Developer in these locations. This is an absolutely crucial limitation you've got to be aware of. Now, even with that free tier limitation, this option massively expands the geographic reach of Amazon Q. I mean, it opens up new and growing markets, covering Africa for the first time with Cape Town and adding a whole bunch of new locations across the Asia-Pacific region. And the expansion keeps going, right? We're seeing new parts of Europe, Mexico, and the Middle East light up. So yeah, while it does require that extra step, and it is limited to the free tier, the opt-in system unlocks a ton of new territory for developers to plan. Okay, so we've covered both types of regions. Now let's do a little showdown. Let's put them side by side to make the differences crystal clear. This should help you figure out which path is the right one for your project. You know, it really just boils down to these 2 things. First, activation. Is it automatic, or do you have to do it manually? And second, tier support. Can you use your paid plan, or is it strictly free tier only? If you're a professional team on a paid plan, your choice is pretty much made for you. You're sticking to the default regions. But if you're just exploring on the free tier, you've got way more geographic options. All right, choosing your region isn't just about getting access. We're almost done, but there's one last crucial point to consider, and it is all about your data. Now, I'm going to read this next part directly from the official AWS documentation because it is that important. It says, quote, "Your data may be processed in a different region from the region where you use Amazon Q Developer. This has huge implications, especially for anyone dealing with data residency and compliance rules." So what's the big takeaway here? It's simple. Just because you're using Q Developer in, say, Frankfurt, that doesn't 100% guarantee your data stays in Frankfurt. Before you commit to any region, you absolutely must check the official AWS data protection policies to understand where your information could end up being processed. And that's pretty much the whole story. You now know the difference between default and opt-in regions, you know about that critical free tier limitation, and you know how important it is to check the data policies. You officially know the where. So the only question left is, what are you going to build?